Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Hammered and Homers. I'm your co-host, Jacob Pearl. Alongside me is your mom's favorite Little Leaguer, Hunter Malone. You know what time it is. We got World Baseball Classic. It's AL, NL, West time. And as always, it's just me. Let's get cracking. Little Dr. Pepper cream soda with zero sugar always hits. Hunter.
Just made chocolate milk.
Changing it up on us. Keeping us on our toes.
Tummy hurts too much. I couldn't do a beer today. Went way too hard on the weekend that I couldn't stomach it.
Happens to the best of us. Well, Hunter, you know what time it is. Tell me about a ball player I forgot about.
I was thinking about this earlier, and one of my favorite pitchers I like to emulate, Hideki Okajima. The homie was lefty, and as he went back, he would go and not even look at you and just woof. Scary, horrifying. I hated playing him like on MLB The Show. So being in the box, if that pitcher just pops his head down, he's looking straight down. He was effective. He was on that World Series run with the Red Sox in 2007. Jacob?
Yeah, I'm going to take you to kind of a utility man. He was in the league for, I believe it looked like about 13 years, 7-time All-Star, Gold Glove, even claimed a batting title. Best known for being a Texas Ranger, Mr. Michael Young. Mr. Michael Young. I see those Young jerseys kind of all over the place in Texas. So I see those.
Dog.
Saw that today, and I was like, that's a guy I haven't thought about, and I bet most people haven't either. So, Michael Young from the Texas Rangers. Let's kick things off here. We're still in pool play of the World Baseball Classic of the WBC. USA doing what they're doing best right now, just smacking teams. Pitching has been nasty. Tarek Skubal was thinking about for a hot second if he wanted to continue pitching, and then Scott Boras came in and said, no, we're not going to do that. So we don't get Tarek Skubal for the rest of the World Baseball Classic. You only got him for 3 innings, which I still think is the dumbest thing in the world, that you agree to participate and you bail out. But Hunter, outside of Team USA, what's happening here in the WBC?
Man's pretty much been putting belt to ass. They have already clinched their spot, moving on. Surprisingly, Italy 2-0. You got USA and Mexico also 2-0. USA and Mexico playing as we are recording. You have the Dominican Republic already 3-0. I believe they have already clinched to the quarterfinals. And due to a tiebreaker, because Pool C is over in Tokyo, they've actually already finished, and Korea wins. They advance to the quarterfinals off of the tiebreaker. So no Australia, no more Travis Bazana, no Chinese Taipei, and Czechia they were 0-3. They're gone. Brazil 0-4. Glad you could make it, but see ya. And my favorite thing is Jazz Chisholm told us he was going to shock the world. Him and Greg Britton. And 72 hours later, they have been eliminated with their only win against Brazil.
I will say, World Baseball Classic, I think, who was it the other day? I think it was Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. And it was the walk-off, and the whole place was just going bananas. I think that was who they were, and that is just a scene that, like, you just don't forget about. I also need to know, how does the team structure get set up? Because, like, maybe I just don't know a lot of these guys like the way I think they do. But, like, Harrison Bader's not from Israel. But he plays for Team Israel. So like, how does this like? I think it was Ozzy Albies and Didi Gregorius were playing for the Netherlands, but they're from
Mhm.
like Curacao. So
Yeah,
like, or Caraco. So like,
Curacao.
okay, that's what I thought. Um,
That's why like Zidane Rafaela plays for the Netherlands. Bogarts played for Netherlands. Netherlands picks up a lot of those like island countries. But basically, you go and take an ancestry test, and if you rate high enough, you could play for them. It's pretty much how it goes. Now, obviously, Cuba's a little bit different because they have rules based off of just however their dictator wants it. A lot of times, if you go and play for like the MLB, they really don't want you back. If you go play somewhere else, they don't want, like, once you leave the island, you typically don't go back. And those of you that are on the island are trying to escape. So they try and figure out who's going to be on the team that won't leave, that'll come back, but represent the country well. That one's a pain in the ass. But basically, if you have any kind of heritage, towards a country, which is why Lars Nootbaar was able to be on Team Japan last year, and why um, Puerto Rico now has Nolan Arenado, clearly U.S. born, U.S. citizen, but his mother from the islands of Puerto Rico. He gets to go face over there. Also, it's U.S. territory, so it's a little bit easier to make it over there. Whereas like Randy Rosarena defected from Cuba, became a citizen of Mexico, just so not only he could flee Cuba and have a safe place to live outside of the U.S., but so he could play for the WBC for Team Mexico. So you have to be like a citizen, you have to be born, you have to have some kind of heritage in those roots. So Israel, um, if you're like an Israelite or I think Jewish, maybe. If you were Jewish, you could play for Israel, if I'm not mistaken. That one I could be wrong, but the rest I'm very confident on. Uh, it's it's pretty cool that you get to represent multiple countries if you are somebody that's kind of mixed blood.
yeah, I think it's cool, but at the same time, if you played for Team USA, I don't want like you shouldn't be in another jersey just so you can participate. You know, like kind of like Arenado's case. Like
Yeah.
if it mattered to you that much, just play as Puerto Rico every WBC. But maybe that's a old man take. But really, I'll be
Maybe
locked
an
in
old
once the
take.
quarterfinals get going here. I mean, it'll start. I think the quarterfinals are Monday and Tuesday before March Madness starts, like next week. So like, just gonna be great timing. It's gonna be great. I simply can't wait. Um, without further ado, here, let's dive in. Where do you want to go? You want to go AL or you want to go NL? Touching upon our last division here.
I feel like we've always been doing AL. We'll stick with the AL trend. And the team that I have pulled up immediately is the Angels. Usually not
Okay,
a team we love to talk about. However, I'm very
let's just get
excited about them on the lowest of keys.
let's just get the shittiest team out of the way.
Pretty
Um,
much, yeah.
got my notes here. They acquired Grayson Rodriguez. I'm gonna say Grayson Allen. Grayson Rodriguez in
What a
exchange
kicker.
for Taylor Ward from Baltimore. They signed reliever Kirby Yates to a 1 year deal. Excuse me. They also signed Alec Manoa, Jordan Romano, and acquired Josh Lowe in a 3-team trade with the Rays, and all that good stuff. And they finally got out of the worst deal in baseball history. Anthony Rendon finally bought that contract out. There. So Hunter, here, my one big question: is this franchise gonna go anywhere ever?
Uh, I mean, I feel like they've gotten better. If I'm being honest with you, this This offseason, I like that they brought in Josh Lowe. I like that you went in and got some bullpen depth. You got Kenley Jansen, you got Andrew Chafin, you've got Hunter Strickland, Jordan Romano. You've got some guys that have been in high leverage situations, as well as you retain somebody like Chris Taylor. You went and got Luis Rengifo. You've got guys, and I think they're super young and talented as well. So I love Zach Neto. I think he's a top 10 shortstop. I've been saying this for 2 years. I might have been early on him, but I'm still very confident Zach Neto is him. Mike Trout. I think if you have him more on the DH side, he plays not 162, but maybe 145. Let Joe Adell be your new center fielder. Now, Mike probably doesn't want to do that, but get him in October. What scares me is going to be the pitching. Yusei Kikuchi could not be your ace. That's not an ace of any competitive ball club. Reed Detmers is back, very talented lefty. Grayson Rodriguez, he's just never been what we thought he would be. He never really panned out. Um, kind of sits at a 4 ERA, but so does Reed Detmers. Alec Manoah really hasn't pitched in 3 years in the big league level. He's pitched in the minors. So it'll be really interesting to see how that goes. Jose Siriano is going to be the second guy in the rotation. They all have projections of being like a 4 ERA, every one of them. So that's not a great start. I do like that they went and got Drew Pomerantz and Kirby Yates. Um, you also have Brent Sutter in that bullpen, which is I like that move a lot. You still have Robert Stevenson, and Ben Joyce is injured, so he'll be coming back. I think the bullpen is probably the best bullpen they've had in a while. But Jacob, what do you like about the hitting?
There's not much to like about the hitting, to be honest with you. Um, like the projected starting nine that I looked up via ESPN via the depth chart is the catcher Logan O'Hop or O'Hoppy. You got Nolan Schoonel, Christian Moore, Yohan Moncada, Zach Neto, Josh Lowe, Mike Trout, Joe Adell, Jorge Soler, and you have Chris Taylor kind of in the mix as the 10th guy in kind of that lineup. The big highlight to me is Zach Neto. Like, a guy he came up in the Angels really young, I think. I think he wasn't fully polished. He kind of had to get his growing pains, but has turned into a really, really great shortstop for them. But this team's not going to go anywhere, really. Like, Logan O'Hoppe is going to be a decent hitting catcher. Josh Lowe is, what you're going to kind of get from him at this juncture. Maybe you get a surprise given it's the Angels, and maybe it's a little bit more favorable where you play the Athletics an X amount of times a year. Mike Trout is still Mike Trout. He's old. He's getting older. The injuries have been a problem. Last year, batted .232, had 106 hits and 26 home runs. I don't think we're ever going to see MVP Mike Trout anytime soon. I like Jorge Soler, but you know what Jorge Soler screams to me? Because he's on a 1-year deal. Trade deadline piece. So that's really what this team feels like, is a bunch of guys when you get to the trade deadline, you're looking at the Angels and you're like, yeah, man, like, why not the Angels? Why not sell some pieces? They chose to kind of like do this weird half-ass like all-in thing, I think 3 years ago with Ohtani. And I just don't see them reaping the fruits of any rewards right now. But they got out of the Rendon contract, which I think is a really big plus for that. From an organizational standpoint, that's just like a weight off your shoulders from a spending side of things, which they kind of, went after some guys. But hitting-wise, it's one of the more lackluster lineups, kind of not exactly on par with the White Sox, because that lineup is really bad. But if you think the Marlins, this is just like kind of similar, but instead of it being a bunch of young guys, this is like a bunch of like a hodgepodge of dudes you never heard of. Zach Neto and Mike Trout, and then maybe two young guys like Josh Lowe maybe pop off.
I think that's a hot take. Zach Noto's definitely a top 10 shortstop in the game, but Logan O'Hoppy's one of the better hitting catchers. I like what he does. Christian Moore, the young rising star. Josh Lowe always suffers from an oblique or a hamstring. Get him set, like get him healthy for a season. 30-30 guy. Like, and it's not crazy to say that Joe Adele coming off what 30 home runs last year. He had a monster breakout season. Will he, and Johan Moncada didn't do terrible. I mean, he had probably his best season to date, and he's only 30 years old. Like he's a late bloomer for sure, but I mean, I would too if I was stuck with the White Sox. So I think the team has looked better than before. I like to think glass half full mentality. You're giving me glass half empty, and this is the Angels. The Angels are supposed to be like way down here, and they're like now kind of up here a little bit. So I like the moves that they're doing. We're getting better, getting Thomas DiArno, getting an Adam Frazier type guy. I like that they're going in and getting some depth. I think I saw they signed Trey Mancini as well, getting some depth there. Uh, Von Grisham, Nick Madrigal. They're getting some pieces that are a little bit older, but could still play. You never know. They've always been hit with the injury bug. It happens in baseball. So getting some kind of veteran talent around to not only help the young guys, in AAA and below, probably just in AAA, but you still have Kyron Paris, who exploded for a good stretch last year. You still have Matthew Lugo still trying to come up for outfielders. I don't know. I like what they're doing. I don't love the pitching, the starting pitching wise, and I don't love their depth at all. Triple A, I don't see anyone coming up and being fantastic anytime soon. Obviously, they spent the first round pick last year on a pitcher, but he's not going to be in the bigs anytime soon. I like to think a little more positive on the Angels. Do I think they're going to contend? I don't know, but I think they'll be better than the Rockies.
But that's not saying. I think when I look at the Angels, I do agree. Like you have Kyron Paris, you're trying to make some of these moves, but when I look at a team like if we want to jump to them next, like when I look at maybe between the Angels and the Athletics, I like the Athletics hitting wise a hell of a lot more than the Angels. And granted, I think starting pitching wise, they might kind of be the same. We can kind of dive into that here, but like, let's shift our focus to the Athletics. And, you extend Jacob Wilson and Tyler Soderstrom, right? You have Brent Rooker, who's kind of been really consistent at the DH. They acquired Jeff McNeil in a trade as well with the Mets. And, of course, they have arguably a really, really exciting first baseman in Nick Kurtz. So, like, I think when I see that and I look at this hitting here of Shea Langoliers, Nick Kurtz, Jeff McNeil, Max Muncy, not Max Muncy from the Dodgers, different Max Muncy, Jacob Wilson, Tyler Soderstrom, Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker, and Denzel Clark. You have power, you have average, you have consistency with some of these guys. I have a little bit less unknowns than in comparison to the Angels. My one big question to you, Hunter, is Nick Kurtz legit? And if so, can he carry the offense for the Athletics? I believe last season he was a 290 average, 122 hits, 36 home runs, 86 RBIs in just 117 games last year. AL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I think with him now putting a full season together, you know, doing a season like he had is not just a blunder. That's not anything that's like, whoa, unless you're on like steroids, then it like never happens again. But a guy that's big, that's strong, and just that talented, the quick bat to ball skills, like that's him. He's just a dude. And he's always been a dude. At 23 years young, probably run into a little bit of a sophomore slump, but I think he's talented enough that it's not nothing like it's not gonna kill you. But I think he's extremely talented at the position, and even if the hitting drops down, he'll find a way to kind of balance back and come with a counter punch. We talked about the Twins earlier, how they've always struggled to find that counter punch. Oakland typically doesn't have that problem. They've produced talent before, especially at the hitting wise. Somebody like Jacob Wilson, who has great bat to ball skills, has such a funky stance. Lauren Butler, explosive. We're seeing him at the WBC, him and Denzel Clark. No, Denzel Clark's the WBC. Lawrence Butler's not. Um, we're seeing Denzel Clark for Team Canada showing off his speed, bat to ball skills, just playmaking aspect. We all remember the play he had last year in center field. Next Muncy was fantastic last year. And I like that not only are they pretty deep in young talent there, but they also have a couple of older guys that are going to be in AAA in case one of those guys gets hurt or has a hiccup. Catching wise, you have Chad Wallach, who we saw at the Jumbo Shrimp. You have Joey Mieses, that's going to be in AAA, and that's probably where he'll start. They still have Tommy White. We remember him from the LSU days. He's still waiting to come up. One of their top prospects, Leo De Vargas. He's an out, or not an outfielder, but a shortstop waiting to come up. They might, I don't know if they'll move him, but with the guy like Jacob Wilson, shortstop ain't opening up anytime soon. And pitching wise, I like them a lot better than I do the Angels by a lot, especially when it comes to starting rotation. Luis Severino is just the veteran guy that they paid. You have Jeffrey Springs, who was fantastic for the Rays, and Savali, who was really good for the White Sox and the Rays. And then he obviously last year was with the Cubs. Jacob Lopez, another Rays pitcher. I'm seeing a trend. Rays know how to pitch, and Oakland knows how to take them. Jacob Lopez, a nice little lefty. He was in the race system forever. He finally got to pitch last year. Did all right, about a 4 ERA, nothing fantastic, but I think he just has growing pains. And then Luis Morales will kind of round it out. They spent a first round pick on a pitcher last year, big lefty out of FSU. So you have him coming up. And then bullpen wise, you have Logan Harris. You have a Mark Leader Jr. coming from the Yankees. You snagged Scott Barlow from the Reds. You have a Tyler Ferguson. And injured is Zach Geloff. That's going to be your everyday second baseman anyway. Instead of, well, maybe not with Jeff McNeil in here, he'll probably rotate in there and take probably Andy Ibanez or Carlos Cortez's spot. Then you have Colby Thomas that's sitting there on the bench too. Really good speed. I think this team is very athletic. I think they're very talented. They're still young, so a lot of growing pains still, but I think they're on the up and coming, and I like everything about the A's.
Yeah, just to close it out, I think this team, if they can get the starting pitching right, I think has a lot of upside. I think the hitting, you want to talk about glass half full. I'm kind of up on this lineup here. I really like the mixture of what they had last year. Tyler Soderstrom got off to a red hot start last season. Really interested to see what happens there, and obviously fascinated by Nick Kurtz. Where do you want to dive next? Rangers, Astros, Mariners. You pick.
The Rangers will go where you're at, the home
Yeah, let's
base.
let's dive into the Rangers here. Their offseason moves consisted of trading for Mackenzie Gore. They also acquired Brandon Nimmo while trading away Marcus Simeon. Um, this isn't the Rangers team of 2, 3 years ago when they won the World Series. Your hitting looks a little bit like this as of this moment in time. This again comes from ESPN. Danny Jansen, Jake Berger, Josh Smith, Josh Young, Corey Seager, Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter, Brandon Nimmo, Jock Peterson, with mixing in Andrew McCutcheon and Ezekiel Duran for them. Wyatt Langford, you're going to really expect him to kind of blow up on the scene for the Rangers, I think. I think that's what they're looking for. He kind of did it a little bit last season. The batting average wasn't great at 241. Had a little bit more home run power, but less hits. So I want to maybe see the hits number get back up to what he did his rookie year. Get the average of north of probably 260 for this team to be anything consistent. And Corey Seager's Corey Seager. You know what you're going to get from Corey. With him, 271, 103 hits, 21 home runs across 102 games last season. Obviously, he had the appendectomy that kind of cut his season short. With the Rangers, we know they're not going to be led primarily by their hitting, which we'll dive into the pitchers here in a second. But my one big question for you, Hunter, is can the lineup stay healthy? And if so, can it match the production the starting pitching gives?
I mean, that's $1 million question is can they stay healthy? That's kind of the question with a lot of teams. It's- I mean, the name of the game, especially in this, is depth and health. So if everyone stays healthy, this is a lineup that's going to be potent. One of the top five in all of baseball, without a doubt. We love Brandon Nimmo's game. Having him be the leadoff guy, set the table. Then you got Wyatt Langford. We all expect a breakout from Wyatt this year. No doubt about it. Corey Seager. Do I expect Corey Seager to be what he used to be? No, but I don't think you need him to be that way. You have Jake Berger, you have Jock Peterson, you have Wyatt Langford, all there to protect him. I just need you to just be you now. I need you to be comfortable like you were, stop pressing. And with them getting rid of Marcus Simeon, who we now know was kind of a headache in that locker room, you kind of get rid of that. No more migraines. Now I can focus and hit the ball. Evan Carter's going to be in the lineup full time. Last year he started in AAA, made his way back. You still have obviously Andrew McCutchen, who they just brought, and Sam Haggerty kind of nipping on his heels for the DH spot as well as that outfield spot. But I really like Evan Carter's game. He brings in that speed, the drag bunt. He can slap the ball around. He forces you to play defense on every pitch when he's up there. And when he's on the base, he pulls pitchers' attention. So when you have a guy behind him, Josh Jung, who did not have a good year last year, now when you pull some focus on him, that's when Josh Jung can now capitalize on mistakes, get in his groove. Josh Smith is now in the lineup. Danny Jansen, it's a big name. I like Danny Jansen. I like Kyle Higashioka. Both of those guys are good hitting catchers, veteran guys that are really going to help with the young core that is the pitching squad. Now, pitching, obviously, we have DeGrom and Evaldi. Not 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 young at all. But after that, you have Mackenzie Gore, who's 27 years old. Jake Leiter, who's 26. You have Jacob Latz, who's supposed to make this. But you also have Kumar Rocker, who's just on the outskirts coming in. So your pitching depth is there. You uh you also have Cal Quantrill. That's also another guy that can get you innings. You have Austin Gomber. The pitching depth is there. They remember what happened when Evaldi went down and when DeGrom was out. So they went and got arms that are going to be sitting in AAA to start, stay fresh, and then going to go. I like Cole Winn coming out of the bullpen a lot. Tyler Alexander, the lefty. Ryan Brazier, he was a Red Sox and then a Cub. That's a good arm. Jacob Junis is there. And then you have Curtis Moon, another guy coming from Boston who could be a potential closer if Robert Garcia doesn't get the job done. Say you got a bunch of righties coming up in the ninth, throw in Chris Martin. You got a bunch of lefties, Robert Garcia. Open looks good. Really like the starting depth, and I like the offensive line. But like you said, the name of the game for them is health.
The name of the game is health. I mean, this team last year was kind of right there on the cusp of a wild card until Evaldi went down, and as well as DeGrom. And they just didn't have the guys. They have a really solid bullpen, and it is a very pitcher-friendly park. for those who have been to Globe Life know that if you hit the ball to right field, you got to have some power because it's a long ways away to get it out of the ballpark there. Um, I have higher expectations for the Rangers simply because I do live in the state and I love going to Rangers games, especially in the summer. But I do think the fan base is kind of like, hey, we had the taste of success. Adolis Garcia's gone, Jonah Heim's gone, Marcus Simeon's gone. You are staying kind of aggressive, but like the AL, there's room to go make a wild card push, right? There's not exactly a team like the NL where the NL can be a bloodbath of a wild card chase versus in the AL, like if you're second in your division, you have a chance unless you're in the AL Central because they were kind of like really compact. But like if the Rangers are number 2 behind the Mariners, that's a wild card berth, and then I think the fan base kind of turns back around, but they got to stay healthy. Jock always deals with something. Josh Young always deals with something. Wyatt Langford had an issue last season. Corey Seager obviously got injured. You name it, they just couldn't stay healthy on the hitting front. So really fascinated now, like how much consistency are you going to get for some of these key guys. Let's dive into let's stay in the state, Hunter. Let's talk about the Astros. The Astros here had a lot of interesting moves, kind of uncharacteristic of the Astros. They signed Tatsuya Ima to a 3-year, $54 million deal, replacing Framber Valdez, who left. They signed Mike Burrows. Acquired Mike Burrows in that 3-team trade with the Rays and the Pirates. Signed another pitcher, Marcisio Dubon, also left with Framber Valdez. Believe Carlos Correa came back as well, or was he already back last season? I can't remember.
He got traded back, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. So your projected hitting lineup looks like Yanier Diaz at catcher, Christian Walker at first, Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, Jeremy Pena, but I think he's going to be injured to start the year. Isaac Paredes is probably going to fit in somewhere. Zach Cole, Jake Myers, Cam Smith, and obviously Yordan Alvarez as the DH. Hunter, the one bit we know what we're going to get from a lot of these guys. Altuve, we know what we're going to get. Yordan, 40-plus homers, hits for power. Jeremy Pena, we're going to expect him north of 270. You know, all these different guys. And I like the hitting. I think the problem with the Astros is that they got a lot older. Like Altuve's starting to get up there. Correa's really up there. They're trying to kind of maybe patchwork with Pena, who has been really consistent and solid for them. Obviously, they got Isaac Paredes from Tampa Bay last season. So, with that being said, with the loss of Framber and some of these other key departures, Hunter, one big question is, are the Astros still in a window to compete in the AL West / in the greater picture of baseball?
I feel like it's kind of like the Phillies, where we say their window is like now. I think their window is now, and I think the pitching allows it to still be open. Um, Obviously, they didn't have their best season last year, but their best player was also injured all year with Yordan Alvarez. I think by making him more of a DH priority, you save the legs, you save that bat. Keep the bat in the lineup, 145, 150 games. We're cool with that. Jose Altuve will no longer be in the outfield trying to figure out that. We put him back in the second base where he's been very productive his whole career. Defensively, not the greatest, but way better having him at second than in left. Isan Paredes, not the greatest third baseman defensively, serviceable at best, but he can pull the ball, and you got a short porch with the Crawford boxes right there. I think he's going to pepper that thing all day, and they really haven't found a trade suitor for him. Carlos Correa isn't the Carlos Correa of old, another guy been dealing with issues with his injuries as he's getting older. Christian Walker, horrible season last year. And first year in a new environment. I think the second year he kind of settles in. The whole season was off. I think once the boys get rolling again, they kind of find that groove. I think so will he. I like Yainer Diaz. He's going to be that catcher that kind of holds it together. Cesar Salazar will be that backup. And if anything happens to either one of them, you have Christian Vasquez ready to come up, a veteran guy that can really manage his staff. Jake Myers' speed has been the name of the game for his career. He'll be your center fielder, turning 30 years young, starting to question those legs once you start to get that. However, Cam Smith is right there at 23 years old off of the bench. Another speed. Nick Allen's a good infielder. You can kind of rotate anywhere. Same with Bryce Matthews. He can play infield, outfield. This team is kind of dynamic, and we've seen a lot of guys that have been able to be so dynamic for them. The utility guy is more of a thing than it was 10 years ago. So having that flexibility, saving all these guys' legs, I think will be a benefit. You just have to be healthy. And that's the problem is one or two of these teams will not be healthy that we've talked about. However, when it comes to Houston, if the pitching stays healthy, I think you'll be all right. Hunter Brown, Cy Young candidate. You've got Christian Javier, who's been absolutely fantastic for them up until last year. He had a really bad ERA, and they're kind of projecting him to be in the fives this year. You don't really see that happening. You have Ronel Blanco, who's currently injured. Speaking of another guy who's currently injured, is Jeremy Pena. Pena, I expect, obviously, he fractured his right ring finger. Pain in the ass to throw the ball. Had surgery about 5 days ago. I don't know if he'll be ready for opening day. His fingers are kind of tricky, but I think he's going to be out there as soon as he can. When it comes to back to the starting rotation, I like the Mike Burrows trade. That's going to be a good guy that just eats innings. Same with Lance McCullers Jr. Last year, not the greatest, up and down with injuries. Coming back full healthy offseason. Ryan West and Imaya, both coming from obviously Japan, one from the KBO, one from the MPB. See how their game transitions. I like Ryan West's game a little bit more, but Tatsuyama is a little bit younger. We'll see how they play. Worst case scenario, one of them will knock down the bullpen. As soon as Ronel Blanco comes up, you also have Hayden Wesnecky and Brandon Walter coming back up. I think the most underrated move that they've gotten, or the most underrated pickup they got, is Nate Pearson. It's a guy I'm not willing to give up on. He's a big star coming up in the Toronto Blue Jays rankings. Turned him into a bullpen piece for Chicago where he was solid. Dude throws about 100 and something. If he can control it, he's going to be a top reliever in the game. Him next to Josh. Maybe he can learn a couple of things as they're both currently sitting on the IL. Hopefully they're sitting next to each other talking about how to get hitters out. But in the meantime, Brian Abreu will be taking over. You still have Brian King, you have De Los Santos back there, Stephen Oker, and then Sousa, Murray, and Munoz will be kind of your middle reliever to long reliever guys. I don't see those cats staying in longer as they get a little bit healthier. I like Josh Hader and Nate Pearson over those last three, but starting off the season already pretty injured and pretty banged up. Not a great look considering this is an aging team that's aging their way on.
I think the Astros and the Rangers are going to compete for this number 2 spot in the AL West. I think if the Rangers can stay healthy and have the hitting, there's no reason why they shouldn't, on paper, jump ahead of the Astros this season. But it's 162 games. You gotta play the games, right? Let's talk about our last team going in reverse of kind of what I thought we were gonna do. We're going to talk about the Seattle Mariners, who were right there on the doorstep of going to their first ever World Series in franchise history. Obviously, they made a lot of big moves, spent a lot of money, kept Josh Naylor to a 5-year, $92.5 million deal. They acquired Brandon Donovan, Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals, sending us some picks, and the Mariners get to shore up their infield. They added some pitching in exchange for some other stuff, but pretty much a lot of it is going to be the same. So projected hitting wise, you're looking at Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, Josh Naylor, Brendan Donovan, Cole Young, J.P. Crawford, Randy Arozarena, Luke Raley, and Dominic Canzone. You also have Rob Refsnyder and Victor Robles as well. Really like the hitting. Obviously, Cal Raleigh right there with the MVP, hit 60 plus home runs. You're not going to expect that to happen again. Probably not going to expect him to hit 50. Probably going to come way back to earth and be about 40. Julio Rodriguez, if he can put it together, looking at least a 2020 guy. Maybe contends for the MVP because his defensive numbers are really nice. Josh Naylor, that's additional big bat that they need because Julio and Brendan Donovan are going to hit for average and not power, but Rayleigh now has Josh Naylor to hit with power, and in Rosarena, we know what he can do in big moments as well. So really, really love the depth of the hitting, love where they kind of knew what their weakness was and were aggressive in the offseason. Obviously, we know about the pitching that you're going to dive into with all their studs. So, Hunter, my one big question to you is that is this the year that they can break through to the World Series for the first time in franchise history?
Mariners to be my World Series team. I don't love it, and maybe it's because I just don't see the Mariners ever being like a World Series. Like I've never seen it, so I'm not like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. I would love for them to be it, and I think now is that window for them to be there. They've got a good amount of talent, veterans and young guys. Brendan Donovan, you go in and you pick up to be your third baseman. You go and get Rob Refsnyder to be that lefty killer to come off of the bench. Also to platoon, possibly with somebody like Canzone, Luke Raley. Um, but also, I really like the depth. JP Crawford is getting younger, and I really love that Colt Emerson's knocking on the door for shortstop wise. With that, that gets me excited that as my aging guys are kind of, if they start to decline, I've got a young stud right here ready to go. So you almost don't even lose anything. If anything, you get more electrifying, you get a little bit better. Um, and it kind of gives you a jolt. You have Victor Robles, who's more of a contact guy, originally was more speed coming up with the Nationals. He'll be that righty coming off the bench, and I think he gives you that speed still that you like. That's a pinch runner if you need in a pinch. Very smart on the base paths, and that's kind of the name of the game when it comes to them offensively. And then pitching wise, this pitching staff is so deep. I mean, they're 6 or 7, no pun intended, deep. They have Brian Wu. You have Logan Gilbert. You have Luis Castillo. Weird Kirby. You have Bryce Miller. Emerson Hancock is another one that's going to be starting in AAA. You have older guy and Dane Dunning coming from the Nationals. He was a Ranger before then. And then you have Randy Dobnak. He's coming from Minnesota and Detroit. So there's a lot of arms that they have that you can trust, who have big league experience, who has, what it takes to get hits at this level. And to survive a full season, you can't just have 5 starters. You need 7, 8, 9 guys that are ready to roll. And Cooper Criswell from the bullpen, another guy that can give you innings. Unfortunately, you do lose Logan Evans as he had Tommy John about 2 months ago. So that's kind of a kicker. Not a guy you kind of expected to slide in there, more of a AAA guy, but still innings lost. Gabe Spear, Carlos Vargas, you have Ferraro. Luzardo, Matt Brash, going to be your eighth inning guy. Andres Munoz, going to be your closer. This is a bullpen that's very good. Cooper Criswell's probably my favorite on here as he's got a weird little right-handed release. Give you some innings. Originally a Tampa Bay Ray, bounced to the Red Sox. He was a Met. He was Angel at one point, kind of a guy that just bounced around and never really stuck, but you love him. So the pitching is there. I think the hitting is there. I don't love that you went out and got Eugenio Suarez and didn't re-sign him. So that third base is kind of, base is not an issue because you can plug it in with Brendan Donovan, but I mean, who gives you more credit? Brendan Donovan and Eugenio Suarez. So you also lose Jorge Polanco, one of the best hitters in all of baseball. You lose him to the Mets. You lost Tyler Saucedo, who's a nice reliever. You lose Gregory Santos, that's a kid that throws 102 from the left. You lost Brent Thornton. So bullpen, however, I do like it. I don't necessarily think you got better. I think you kind of stayed the same. In an off season where you need to tink a couple of things, the bullpen was not something that we twinked for the better.
Yeah, I think that the Mariners have the best starting five of pitching in baseball. I think it's not really close. You could throw out Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo. Brian Wu is an underrated guy, the Cal Poly Demon. Um, and then you throw in George Kirby and obviously Bryce Miller, and then you talked about those guys. Like they're built for October. They're built for the long haul because when you get to October and you're in the playoffs, Brian Wu was amazing. You could put Kirby in the bullpen. You're rolling three guys, right? And the hitting was amazing. They just ran into a great Toronto Blue Jays team last year, and Trey Yasevich got hot. So I'm not sure. I'm not ready to make them my World Series pick, but when they were in the playoffs last year, they were my team to make the World Series. So I'm really high on the Mariners this year. So with that, let's jump over to the NL West now, and let's not go from the bottom to the top. Let's go from the top to the bottom. Here we're going to talk about the Evil Empire, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Most talked about team the entire offseason for a multitude of reasons. None of them. If you're a Dodgers fan, you love them, and if you're not a Dodgers fan and you're just a fan of baseball, Lockout 2027 is coming, baby. The Dodgers signed probably the biggest free agent of this offseason of Kyle Tucker, 4-year, $240 million contract. A bunch of the money is deferred. They signed Edwin Diaz, star closer from the Mets, to an already stacked bullpen. 3-year, $69 million deal. They re-signed Miguel Rojas, re-signed Evan Phillips, and they kept Alex Vesia via an option. Probably the most disgusting hitting lineup we're going to talk about all year. You're looking at Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Tommy Edman when he gets healthy, Max Muncy, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Pajes, Kyle Tucker, MVP Shohei Ohtani, mix in Miguel Rojas and Hye-Sung Kim. What more can you say about it? What more can you say about this lineup? It's disgusting. You got arguably the best catcher in the game right now in Will Smith. At least hitting wise, he's one of the top three. Tommy Edman's a utility guy. Stick him wherever you need him. Teoscar Hernandez just continues to hit like 25 plus home runs every year. Mookie is Mookie. We know what he's going to kind of do at the dish, even though his defensive play is a little bit declining. But Shohei Ohtani's in his prime. No one's stopping the guy. And, oh, by the way, he's healthy again to pitch. You can mix in Miguel Rojas, and he's going to fill in and get you key at-bats. And Andy Pajes enjoyed a breakout season last year. Oh, and we haven't mentioned Freddie Freeman, who is just incredible. incredible. So I guess the one question is the same question everybody has. Can anyone stop the Dodgers, huh?
I mean, they were 3 outs away from losing. Like, let's not forget that. The Blue Jays had them beat. If you don't have IKF completely forgetting how to run the base paths, they lose. The year before that, I mean, what was it the Padres had them on the ropes? I mean, the team is beatable. Like I I personally don't have a problem with anything that the Dodgers is doing. I think I have a problem with my owner not going out and signing the best players and making it happen. Um, uh, in the name of the game, I mean, go out, get the best players, you probably win games. It's really that easy. Um, some owners are willing to do it. Some aren't. Really like their. I mean, you talked about their starters. You like their bench. Their bench is deep. Dalton Rushing is a great catcher coming off of the bench. That's a guy that mashes. He's a lefty. Miguel Rojas, you touched on, but Santiago Espinal is somebody that I got to watch when I was part of the Blue Jays. I got to watch him every night, shortstop. He is smooth with the glove, and he's about a 260 hitter that's got a little bit of pop, but is very smart on the base path. And then Alex Call coming over from the Nationals. That was one of the best hitters on the Nationals team last year. Not really saying much, but if you had him on fantasy, that was a sneaky pickup last year. So to see the Dodgers go and get him, if I see something and they see something, let's write it down and save it for later. I mean, it, I mean, obviously Tommy Edmonds injured currently. You have Kike Hernandez who's coming off of the elbow surgery, so they won't start. The list, I mean, they already kind of have a list of injuries already, like they suffered last year. But when you have depth, it doesn't matter. When you have arms, it just doesn't matter. Currently, pitching that's hurt is Blake Snell, Gavin Stone, Gratterall, Evan Phillips, and Brock Stewart. Now, with those injuries, obviously you lose Kirby Yates, who wasn't what he thought he would be. Um, Gonsolin looks like it's still a free agent. Michael Kopech is still a free agent. And so pitching wise, obviously we have Yamamoto, Glasnow, Otani will be pitching again, like you said. Sheehan and Roki Sasaki. He is currently the fifth starter. However, I think he's better suited for the bullpen role. I think that's when he can go and be the most electric. He doesn't have to conserve himself or focus on, just go out there and throw. Get this batter out, give it all you got every pitch for one inning. I think that's going to be when he's at his best. Now, where are you going to put him in this bullpen with Edwin Diaz, Tanner Scott, Alex Vesa, Blake Trihan, Jack Dreyer, Will Klein? I mean, this bullpen's deep, and it's so deep that they didn't even have a spot for Banana. He had to go and just straight up get waived. They're like, who are we going to trade you for? We have everyone. So they just straight up waived him, and he's now what, a Twin, I think is what we said. It's an embarrassment of riches, is what they have. And you still have Landon Knock. You have Cole Ewing that you got from the KBO. So you have a little bit of depth on the backside. Jackson Ferris is a lefty that's coming up. He'll be in Double A this season, but we all remember his card earlier from this year of MLB The Show. So they do have some pitching on the rise, and it's truly just it's an embarrassment of riches. Bobby Miller's still trying to come back. He's going to be another guy that's probably going to be more of a reliever. Originally was a starter. He's probably going to do what Roki is about to do next. Starter wasn't consistent. Let's shrink it down to 1 or 2 innings and give it a go. So, what do you not like is probably a shorter list. If you don't like anything about this, you're being way too damn picky. This is Nobody's got a better 26-man team out there.
And it's like you said it perfectly. Like it's to say the Dodgers are ruining baseball, I think is a bad subset. I do think the only thing the Dodgers are doing that's bad for baseball is the deferment of all the payments. The fact that they can just pay like pennies on the dollar for the next 3 years on like Shohei and Kyle Tucker, and then they have to eat. Then they get paid like 10 years down the line. Like I think that's not that. It's just working the salary cap. I think that's not exactly fair. Um, but you said it perfectly. It's not that. I think the Dodgers are highlighting a bigger issue, which I think Jeff Passan said it really nice when he was on the Ryan Russillo show, where he said like fans just want to feel like they have a chance, and like the Dodgers, like you don't feel like anyone has a chance to beat them, and you've mentioned it. They've been on the ropes before. It's baseball. Like it's an incredible. It's not like basketball where they assembled the Warriors and it's Steph, Clay in their primes, and then you added Kevin Durant. Like it feels like that, but it's incredibly varianced. Like the probability and the odds and the analytics say like they are the favorite, but again, if Kiner Falefa remembered fundamentals, the Blue Jays pull off an upset
Yeah,
in
and this
Game
is a team
7.
that they only won 93 games last year. Like, so did the Yankees and so did the Blue Jays. Like, this whole thought process of they can't be beat, but we just watched.
But the
They won
Dodgers were
7 games with
really banged
Toronto.
up. The bullpen was so banged up for like it is like we said, it's baseball, but it's I think Jeff
It's
Passan said it
six
great.
months long.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
it's your
everyone's going to be healthy.
it's the sentiment of your team having a chance, and I think that's where a lot of fans are feeling is that they just don't have an opportunity to go win. Let's dive into the second team here. Let's dive into the Padres. Kind of active in the offseason to a degree. They re-signed Michael King, which was a big must for them after letting Dylan Cease walk to Toronto. They added Nick Castellanos. They added Korean infielder Sung Moon Song. They also signed Walker Buehler as well as Griffin Canning. The bats, pretty consistent. Freddie Fermin, Gavin Sheets, Jake Cronenworth, Manny Machado playing at top 3 third baseman in the league. Xander Bogaerts, Ramon Laureano, Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis, obviously, and then you have Miguel Andujar and Nick Castellanos to kind of fill in and mix around. We know what they did at the trade deadline this past season. I guess we know what Jake Cronenworth's going to give. Manny Machado continues to surprise as he gets older. Jackson Merrill has a ton of upside if he can stay healthy. The name of the game for him is legit health because he was really banged up. Bogaerts is Bogaerts. I think he's declining a little bit numbers-wise, but you know what you're going to get. This is going to be... And Tatis plays at an MVP level every year. Question is, can they sustain the constant push to try and overtake the Dodgers? Because really, that's why they make all the moves, is to try and beat the Dodgers.
Yeah, and I like what they did in this offseason. I think they acknowledged, let's get a really good bat to start it off, and that's Bogarts. Bogarts has done his most damage at the 1 or the 2 spot. Having him so far back just isn't. It's more of an engagement, that comfortable feel. Let me set the tone on a guy. So having Boogie be lead off, I really like that they're making that change. Going with Jackson Merrill to Machado and then Tatis, that's a front four that I'm really, really like. I don't love the fact that you went out and you got Ryan O'Hearn just to let him walk. It's for me that feels like a waste. You let Robert Suarez walk. Luis Rise gone. Elias Diaz, he was a minor leaguer, so you let him go. That's nothing crazy. Taz, Hayward, Gurriel, Iglesias, all gone. That's a lot of big names that they just let walk. And in return, we have Kyle Hart and Michael King. We signed Ty France to a minor league deal. We get Walker Bueller to a minor league deal. Like we just saw what he did with the Red Sox and the Phillies. Like to me, I feel like that's an innings eater for the 5 days of summer. Is that what we're really saving him for? Like Griffin Canning, without the injuries, was really good last year. Yerman Marquez has always been a victim of Coors Field, and I think you'll see he's going to have an uptick in his game. I mean, the projections every year for him is like a 5 ERA. If you pitch in Coors, like, there's only three pitches you can really throw at course. Fastball, splitting, and a changeup. Everything else just kind of stays flat. It's with that elevation, unfortunately. So if you have a really good slider, it flattens out real quick, and it just sits there and spins. Michael King will be back. Not that he really left, but he's re-signed. Can he stay healthy for a full year? We know what Nick Pivetta can do. He is so locked in on this season. He decided not to pitch for Team Canada so he could get a normal off season and a normal train, like a spring training regimen, and really just focus on the Padres. Joe Musgrove is back. Randy Velasquez and then Marquez is supposed to make that with you Darvish injured. Matt Waldron is kind of funny. He's uh he's got the hemorrhoid. Hemorrhoid surgery? That's different. If you don't know what a hemorrhoid is, you should Google it. Not on any of my devices, but on yours. So you Matt Waldron, 30 years young with a hemorrhoid. And he's not knuckleballer, so he kind of gives you a different look. And then injured still, and you got Jason Adams coming over from the Rays a couple of years ago. Brito, and no way, his name is Brian Hoeing. Hoeing. Um, but still, back end wise, with the bullpen guys who are healthy right now, Mason Miller, one of the best closers in the game. Adrian Moore, Sean, the two guy for them, that eighth inning guy. It was probably not a better 1-2 punch right there. Moron's probably a closer on your favorite team. Jeremiah Estrada's a really good righty. He'll come in the seventh. And then those mid relief guys, Yuki Matsui, you've got Rodriguez, Wandy Peralta getting up there in age, but still getting the job done. Morgan has been doing really well. You've got Ron Manachusio. He'll be your long relief guy. I personally would rather have like a Griffith Canning in that situation. I don't particularly see maybe Rodriguez will be the one that gets sit down just because he does have the two options for like if a Jason Adam that's right. He did have quad surgery it was about 6 months ago, so we'll see if he's right and ready to go. But depth wise, everyone loves Ethan Salas. And this is gonna be controversial, but Ethan Salas is not the prospect you think he is. Just because you played with his card on MLB The Show 3 years ago does not mean he is an elite prospect. At one point, he was, but he is a catcher that when he got bumped up to Double A, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. He can't hit, and he has back injuries. What kind of productive catcher can't hit and has a hurt back? None. Like the Ethan Salas hype, I'm over with it. I'm gonna say it right now. Chilling. Enough with the Ethan Salas hype. I get it. He's 19. What 19-year-old has back issues like him? There's a reason why they couldn't pawn him off to the Red Sox. It's that bad. Like he is just that hurt. His back is that bad. It's starting to affect his defense, and clearly it's affecting the offense. And if you have to get back surgery when you play a game where all you do is twist your back all day long, that's why Chris Bryant can't play anymore. He has to get back surgery and get that fusion, get that rod, to where he can't rotate anymore. Ethan Salas, if his back is that bad, his career is done. So the hype train on him, cool the Jets. Like at AAA, we got Ty France coming off a Gold Glove season. We have Pablo Reyes, who's an older guy. He's 32 and a half years old. Was with the Mets last year. That's a productive guy. So if one of your utility guys gets That's who's going to get called up. Jose Miranda's going to probably start in AAA. Mason McCoy, a guy that we know from AAA, we actually interviewed him with the Pen. You have Nick Solak, who's going to probably start in AAA. That's good pop coming off the bench. Last year was with Pittsburgh. Pretty sure he was a Ranger before then. And then for pitching wise, Tristan McKenzie, JP Sears, Walker Bueller, Logan Gillespie, Kyle Hart. That's probably going to be your starting five in AAA. We talk about an embarrassment of riches. This is a team that understands arms is super important and is the name of the game when it comes here for this, especially in the dog days. Let's get some guys out. But Jacob, tell me what I missed. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered it perfectly. I think the Ethan Salas thing is really dead on. Like the guy has never panned out. He's had a long runway. The runway's run out. Get somebody else who is in there. If he's got the back problems, he's not going to last very long. And I think with the Padres, you are leveraging short-term gain for what is kind of like a little bit long-term. But prospects are prospects. Or Leo DeVries and some of these other guys, like we'll see. Obviously, Mason Miller kind of is going to barricade down the Padres' back end of the bullpen. But if you can't get, I think if you're the Padres, I mean, have they even reached an NLCS yet with this core? I don't think so. If they have, I don't remember it. Oh no, they did. It was the Phillies 3 years ago. And then Bryce Harper hits a tank, and I have one of the best baseball moments ever, being in Philly. But I think you would talk about windows. There is no window closing faster than the Padres window. Because, I hate to say it, you don't have the money to outspend the Dodgers, but you can try. But if you can't hit on some of these prospects that you're leveraging and some of the depth, man, it's tough because like the likes of Arizona's made it and the Rangers won in 2023 and that team nobody really thought was like all that sexy.
They
So
just got hot at the right time.
it got hot and that's all it takes, but it's like, man, the experiment, it's almost like of the Rams, the F them picks mentality almost. Let's dive into maybe the most interesting team to me in the NL West. The San Francisco Giants. I almost said Dodgers for some reason. Let's dive into the Giants here. A little bit of a quieter offseason after a pretty big 24-25 winter. They signed Tyler Mahle and Adrian Hauser to some pitching deals. They added some guys to the relief. They also signed Luis Arias from the Padres to a 1-year deal and also signed Harrison Bader to a 2-year contract. Projected hitting wise, you're looking at Patrick Bailey, one of the best catchers in baseball. Rafael Devers, obviously the big move from Boston last season. Luis Arias, Matt Chapman, Willie Adames, Heliot Ramos, Harrison Bader, Jung-Hoo Lee, and Bryce Eldridge. Maybe underrated, maybe when we talk again in November when we recap everything, but like Patrick Bailey, Matt Chapman, you know what you're going to get. Devers is really the biggest question mark, right? Because like what version of Devers are you going to get? Is Devers going to transition to be more of a DH to like, or like, can he play first, right? Harrison Bader is a great defensive player, but you know what he's going to bat? He's going to bat under 250. And if he's on, he may steal a couple bases, but he's nothing crazy. Willie Adames is incredibly underrated. You add Luis Arias, he's going to bat near 300, not strike out a ton. He's going to work walks. And Jung-Hoo Lee is just also really consistent. We really liked him last year in fantasy baseball. Um, and he kind of delivered there. Question for you, Hunter, is when's the push coming? And do you think Rafael Devers is the answer?
Well, Rafael Devers is a one-man wrecking crew, and you put him in this massive ass ballpark. He's gonna spray the field. Now he doesn't have the big ass wall to help him, just pepper it off of. So he's gonna have to hit gaps and show that speed. But what I really like is you're gonna have Luis Rise hitting in front of him. That's a 300 hitter. Means 3 out of 10 times Rafael Devers coming up, his ace is on first with the base hit. Doesn't even include walks or hit by pitches. The 7 ways we went over how to reach on first base last episode. So this cat's getting on first, and no matter what, yeah, I can go ahead and drive in because the way Rafael Devers hits the ball, you're in scoring position at first with this big ballpark. I wouldn't be more worried about Rafael Devers as I am Willie Adames and Matt Chapman. Both of them started off last season just so slow. Willie Adames took like 2 months to figure it out. Matt Chapman, just not the Matt Chapman that we saw him in Oakland or Toronto, coming out slow. General Lee was really the one pushing that offense, but he's not a power guy. He's a contact guy. He'll go ahead and get you base hits over the second baseman's head. Maybe hit it in the gap a little bit. Elias Ramos was doing well. But Wilmer Flores was the guy that really powered that offense last year, driving in the runs. He was in the top in RBIs, and they just let him walk. They're hoping that Rafael Devers and Bryce Eldridge will be that run producer for them. Eldridge being this rookie big lefty bat that's going to be able to drive him in. He's only 21. I really like what he has to offer. And then, like you said, Harrison Bader will be there. And Harrison will probably split time in the outfield with Luis Matos and Encarnacion, depending on how well the bat does. He showed a little bit of pop when he was with Toronto last year, or not Toronto, but Minnesota last year. And then in Philly, a little pop, but it was kind of sprinkled here and there. And then Patrick Bailey, you already know he's going to man down that whole rotation. I don't even care what he has to offer you defensively when he does so much defensively. Now, you get a little pop in his bat, a little doubles guy, that war is going to jack up and you'll see them win some games. But that's kind of a position you expect not really to get much from. Now, the rotation I feel like got better. We got rid of an aging Verlander and replaced him with Adrian Hauser, who's 43, yes, getting a little bit up there, but dude can still shove. I mean, he did fantastic for the White Sox. Not a place you really do well in. I mean, Chris Sale and Crochet were the only two people I know that shoved in the South Side. Adrian Hauser has been fantastic. You add him to this rotation with Tyler Molly or Maley coming from the Rangers last season. It's an innings eater. To go with Logan Webb, one of the best pitchers in the NL, and Robbie Ray, whose pants are way too damn tight for him to be out there like that. You add in Landon Rupp, who's been kind of making a name for himself, getting in his own. He's probably going to be your five. You feel confident in him being my five. Bullpen wise, Ryan Walker is going to be your closer. You're going to have Miller and Budo out there. Gregory Santos is probably going to make the team, even though he's on a non-roster invite currently. Matt Gage is out there, and right now they've got a lot of guys that are injured. Jason Foley, he's got certain. He had shoulder surgery in May of last year. He's still on the 60-day IL. Sam Hintage injured currently. He had knee surgery. Rodriguez, he's another big arm. He had Tommy John. Um, in September of last year. I don't think you'll see him back. Roman Wick is hurt. Figueroa's hurt. We're really seeing a lot of arms and mostly a lot of bullpen arm, which isn't the easiest to replace because those arms are typically at a very hot commodity. And then you still have Hayden Birdsong. You still have Weisenhout. You had Blake Tidewell. You've got some moves ready to roll. You did get rid of some of them in the acquisition to go ahead and get you Rafael Devers. Obviously losing Kyle Harrison in that. Probably one of your most pro-ready arms, but you hope Landon's ready to roll. when it comes to that. But you still have Joey Lucchesi, you have Michael Fulmer, Tristan Beck. You've got a little bit of bullpen arms, a little bit of older guys ready to roll. They'll probably start in AAA as a non-roster invite. Make their salaries a little bit cheaper if you just start them off down there. Call them up later. Unfortunately, when you call them up later, you do have to make room on the 40 man or just straight up DFA somebody. So it'll be interesting the kind of moves they see, what needs fit for them. The bullpen isn't fantastic. This team's going to be led by starting pitching and the front five of that lineup with Luis Ariz, Devers, Adames, Chapman, and Jung Ho Lee.
Let's dive into Arizona. A little bit of a more interesting offseason. They acquired Nolan Arenado from the Cardinals. They gave up a bag of chips. They were able to re-sign Zach Gallen. They were able to bring back Merrill Kelly after trading him to the Rangers. And they also added Carlos Santana to try and get some more power. Your projected hitting lineup looks like Gabriel Moreno, Pavian Smith, Ketel Marte, Nolan Arenado, Geraldo Perdomo, Alec Thomas, Jordan Lawler, Corbin Carroll, and Carlos Santana. Your experience, Geraldo Perdomo, incredibly efficient at the plate. Hits for doubles, hits for power every so often. You're now adding an Arenado who defensively you're going to get better. He still has the arm. The hitting isn't there for Arenado, but him not having to be the top guy, I think is going to pay dividends. Ketel Marte, he's up there in the MVP conversation number-wise every now and then. I truly think the team really for hitting, what are you going to get from Corbin Carroll? Because this guy is confusing, right? I want to pull up his Baseball Reference. Like, you look at, I'm on Baseball Reference and I type in baseball like an idiot. Like, you look at Corbin Carroll and you're just like, man, he was supposed to break out in 2024 and he just didn't. And it's like, and he bounced back in, 2025 with an all-star campaign. He was 6th in MVP voting. He was a Silver Slugger, right? But it's not exactly been pretty. Rookie of the year, right? Comes out the next year. We're all picking him for MVP in 2024. Blows. Excuse me. And it comes out last season and kind of reclaimed some of that Rookie of the Year form. He kind of wasn't great at the plate to start the year, but then he got red hot. Right? He finished the year batting .259. He had 17 triples, 32 doubles, 146 hits, 107 runs. He had 31 homers, which was the highest of his career so far. And, you're kind of seeing the progression that you want from him right now. He had 32 stolen bases, so he was a 30-30 guy. I don't see him doing 54 stolen bases like he did his rookie year. I think that 30-plus is kind of his sweet spot. He had a 5.8 WAR last year, the highest of his career. What version of Corbin Carroll are you going to get? Because the numbers are going to tell you you're going to get less than subpar Corbin Carroll. If he maintains this and bats maybe in the upper echelons of a 270 with 30-plus home runs again, maybe touches 20 triples, right? Touches 30 stolen bases again. We know what he's going to do defensively, right? Maybe we're looking at 150-plus hits and 120 runs. Guy's going to be top 3 in MVP, and it's going to be talked about as the next face of baseball. But the numbers don't tell you that, right? The numbers, there's not enough consistency that you can see, right? I'm really fascinated by Corbin Carroll because I think he has the chance. Granted, He was sixth in MVP voting last year in the NL. He was fifth his rookie year, run rookie of the year. He's kind of on this Bobby Witt train of like take it by the reins, take the bull by the horns, like go nuts. I think I'm wait like I know he's gonna be great. He's gonna probably be top 5 in MVP, but I want him to be top 2. And if for the Diamondbacks to have a chance, him and Ketel Marte need to be in that upper echelon of the NL players in a stacked division that they're in.
So you compare Corbin Carroll to an MVP caliber player of Bobby Witt. When I see Corbin Carroll, I feel like he's more of a Jaron Durant. One huge year, breakout, ultra talented. The speed is there. The defense isn't the greatest, but his speed makes up for it. Triples guy, can pop him out, electric player, and just a dude that is just a nonstop motor that makes his teammates better. I think Corbin Carroll's closer to Jalen Duran than anyone else in the league, and they're both kind of facing similar things. The only difference is the Red Sox are going to try and preserve Jaren Duran, keep his legs fresh. You're going to play, you're going to be a DH here. You're going to DH probably 40 games this year. And with the DH, I'm going to save your legs so you can run. I want you to be explosive on the base paths, cause havoc. With moving Corbin Carroll, and you move him, I think he was originally center, you moved him to right. So now you're going to have Jordan Lawler out there in center field. That saves his legs a little bit without, having that disengagement that some players have when they are DH. So moving Corbin Carroll, keeping him in the right field, letting him know, hey, you're going to be there probably 120 starts, 130 starts. You're going to have probably 10 days off. The rest will have you DH just so we save your legs. I think if you have one of that and you let him just be him, keep him healthy, make for sure we check on those legs. I mean, have him DH once every 10 games, once every 15 games. Let's those days off, keep your legs fresh. It's going to be the difference in Corbin Carroll staying on the field and not on the field. Quintal Marte is somebody we honestly expected to be moved. We didn't think that he would still be a Diamondback, but he is. And he is the best second baseman in the game, without a doubt about it. I mean, heads and shoulders, this guy is a dude. Geraldo Perdomo came out of, he's told everyone, I'm here. We said Zach Neto was a top 10 shortstop. Perdomo top 7. I mean, this is a dude. Gabriel Moreno, we're kind of waiting for that offensive explosion. Originally coming from Toronto, didn't really explode there like we thought he would. He came over here. Kevin Smith were waiting for an explosion, but I think having a combination of not only Nolan Arenado, but Carlos Santana, having those two veteran guys that know how to hit, money ain't enough to get that information. I mean, that knowledge they're going to transfer to all these young bucks, to Jordan Lawler, to Alex Smith, to, I mean, even James McCann, who is, the catcher that'll be over here. And then the young guys that are going to be up and coming. You still have Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who is injured. I mean, he tore his ACL, so I'm not sure when he'll be back. I would like to think he'll be back by the end of the year, but this is a team that's already plagued by injuries. So having that mindset, having those guys teach them how to be a big leaguer and how to save your body, how to do, how to be a dude, I think is going to be big for them. Pitching wise, I have questions because you're already I'm looking at the injury report. I see Tommy John, Tommy John, Tommy John. Tommy John, we're seeing a trend here. Shoulder surgery, back tightness, shoulder discomfort. Like, what are we doing to help our pitchers? Like, what are we just doing to help our pitchers? Is the question. Corbin Burns, Tommy John. We have Mario Kelly, back tightness. Now he's a little bit older. Obviously, trying to figure out where he's going to be. Was with Texas last year. Comes back home. You have Blake Watson. He's your lefty reliever. He's 24. Tommy John. AJ Puck. Tommy John. Justin Martinez. He was your closer and your eighth inning guy. Your setup man. Tommy John and Tommy John. all within 6 days of each other. The fuck are we doing? You got in Corbin Burns, and one was the 11th, one was the 19th, and one was the 25th. You got three of your top pitchers all blow their elbows out at the same time. The fuck are we doing? Like, and so now you go out there and you go out and try out Zach Allen, who wasn't fantastic last year. Renee Nelson, who's never been fantastic, he sits about a 4 ERA. Guerrero Rodriguez, who honestly has never really been the dude that we thought he was. At Boston, we were like, man, this guy might be, that John Lester kind of guy. And then, he goes to, what was it, Arizona, then he went to Baltimore, then Detroit. Now he's back in Arizona. I mean, this guy's been everywhere and he's never been great. He's always sitting at the 4.2 ERA, and he's 33. You can't say he's a prospect and it's, oh, he's young. He ain't young no more. He's just not great. You got Brandon Pod or Fod. I don't know. I never forget or never remember how to say his name. But he's a young pitcher he's never been great either, but he's solid. That's an innings. I'm cool with that. Didn't really expect much from him, being a fifth round guy in 2020. And then you go ahead and get Michael Soroka, who was always hurt for Atlanta. So it makes sense for the Diamondbacks to attract hurt arms. I'm glad you went and got him because that makes so much sense. Bullpen wise, your number one, two, and three closers are hurt. So we have Kevin Ginkel, we have Paul Sewald, who is older than dirt. Remember him from the Mariners. They brought him over here and actually signed him in February from Detroit. Ryan Thompson's an arm from the Rays. Paige Stroud is in here, and Jonathan Weizica is probably the other big name that you would recognize. And he's on a non-roster invite, but because of all the injuries, will probably make the team. And let me check, see what we got in the farm. Nobody. I mean, uh, yeah, we've got nobody that I'm excited for. I mean, Isaiah Campbell's the first one that I recognize. And if that's who we're excited about, John Curtis, good God. Your farm system's not looking all too hot. On the pitching aspect, whoa, I did not mean to zoom in. That was crazy. But I mean, you're already looking at injured players, and with all your top prospects being so young, you've got Ryan and then Tommy are the ones that are ready to go. But those are position players. I mean, no pitchers are ready to roll. And honestly, with the way they handle their pitching staff, I'm grateful. You got a second baseman ready to roll and an outfielder. Yeah. So I think the window for Arizona pretty closed unless they make some serious moves. Because if your big move is to go and get Nolan Arenado and Carlos Santana, you're not a contender.
I think want to jump back to you comparing Corbin Carroll to Jaron Durant. Statistically, maybe a little bit more closer, but when you look at kind of the overarching comparisons, uh, Corbin Carroll is not exactly as close to Bobby Witt, but both guys, Silver Sluggers, All-Stars twice. Both have been in MVP voting. Obviously, Bobby Witt, MVP, second runner-up in 2024. He was fourth in MVP voting last year. Obviously, the average is what's going to be the biggest difference maker, and obviously the doubles and the hits. But Corbin Carroll had more triples. He just doesn't have the hits and consistency that obviously Bobby Witt does. But I agree. I think if you're the Diamondbacks, you can't look at his roster and be like, wow, we're going to get hot again and get lucky and go to the World Series, Like, I don't think you have that. I think you need a lot of stuff to really go your way for that to happen. So, let's talk about the last team here. No man's land, Colorado Rockies. They signed utility man Willie Castro to a 2-year deal. They signed pitchers Michael Lorenzen, Jose Quintana. Just nothing competitive in Denver. Hunter Goodman projected hitting lineup looks like Hunter Goodman, T.J. Rumfield, Willie Castro, Kyle Karras, Ezekiel Tovar, Jordan Beck, Brenton Doyle, Jake McCarthy, and Mickey Moniak. I want to keep this a little short and simple here on the Rockies because Goodman enjoyed an incredible breakout year last season for the Rockies. I mean, he came out strong to the scene. Inc- um, I gotta look up his stuff here because Hunter Goodman did burst out on the scene.
Yeah,
Hunter
Earl Goodman
Goodman.
was fantastic last year for the Rockies.
Yeah, he.
Definitely a
Hold on,
name
I have.
to
I'm
look
not
out
done. I'm not
for.
done. I'm not done. I'm not done. You slow your roll, kid. You slow your fucking roll. Um, Hunter Goodman last year was an All-Star Silver Slugger. Had a 3.7 WAR, batted 278 average, had 152 Ks, but had 150 hits, 28 doubles, 91 ribbies, 73 runs from a catcher is really productive, especially at 278 batting average. Brenton Doyle's a good defensive player, but like he's not exactly like I love the 99 Silver Slugger card in the MLB The Show, but like he batted 233 last year, uh, had 57 runs on 117 hits. Like this Rockies team hitting wise just bad. I think my question for you, Hunter, here with the Rockies, because the Chris Bryant experiment failed. They have a bunch of other stuff that's just simply not going their way. Is there any light at the end of the tunnel for the Rockies? You're a glass half full kind of guy. So if you got something for these Rocky fans, give it to them.
You've got the Denver Nuggets and the Avalanche. And what did it cost you to be really good at both? The Rockies. It cost you the Rockies. The Rockies are going to be fucking ass this year. Um, this is a team that's lost, what, 100 games back to back years? Maybe more? I mean, this is on paper, and I talked about the pitching in cores. It's very difficult, but on paper, I kind of like how athletic they are. You've got a guy like Jake McCarthy, who's a very good lefty, getting a little bit older, but has speed. Just never really found his groove in Arizona, so I think a change of scenery could benefit him. Being in cores where it's so big, I mean, it's same with Arizona. It's at Henderson Park. It's a guy that could set the tone, and then Tovar. Ezekiel Tovar is probably the biggest bright spot that they have there. Followed up with Hunter Goodman, who was really good last year. Mickey Moniak started to turn it up a little bit. He's starting to figure it out. This is a former #1 overall pick back in, I think, what was it, 26? So he's been around. No, maybe not 2016. He's been a #1 pick overall, and he's been around for a while. Jordan Beck, not somebody I'm very high on. Willie Castro, it's a guy I feel like has been around for a while. He was the big off-season or mid-season acquisition for the Cubs. They just let him walk. I don't love when teams do that. They go and get you and let you walk. Brendan Doyle has been really solid for them. Troy Johnson, not a huge fan of. And then Eduardo Julian, somebody that I knocked on last episode. That's a guy that's just going to roll over and hit weak ground balls. Now, in cores, you got to be able to hit line drives. Hopefully, they can teach him how to hit. But in this lineup, I've got a bunch of lefties, and then my bench that I have in front of me. This is brought to you by Fangraphs. It's a bunch of righties. I've got Braxton Fulford, Frim, Ritter, and Freeman. Nobody that really moves the needle for me. Not coming off the bench. Like if I gotta come into a pinch, I'm not very happy. Pitching wise, Kyle Freeland's still around. Probably gonna have another 5 ERA again. Lorenzen, he was very serviceable for the Royals, but like I said, this is course. Expect your shit to get rocked a little bit more. It's just different. Jose Quintana is gonna be on here now. Chase Dollander is somebody who I'm really excited for, and then Sugano I think will have the most success as he throws a splitter, he throws a good two-seamer, a good sinker, fastball, things like that, that cut and sharp rotations, those move. Anything that goes kind of up and down will be fine. If you've got a good curveball that's 12-6, you'll be fine. Slider with a lot of depth, like just drops, it's okay. If you have things that go, side to side, it'll sit there and spin and it doesn't move as much just because of the elevation. A cutter will be fine, a slider will sit there and spin. So, Sugano being a splitter guy, Lorenzen, I'm pretty confident he's a splitter sinker guy. Quintana's a sinker guy. I think they're starting to figure out a little bit of analytics. However, not a huge fan of it. And then I go into the bullpen and I wish I could avert my eyes. We've got Vodnik, Projet, Juan Mejia, Agnos. Agnos, I don't hate super much. Like, I don't hate that one. Brendan Bernardino was very good for the Red Sox. Age-wise, it just wasn't going to make it. John Brebbia is a non-roster invite, will probably make the team. Keegan Thompson coming over from Cincinnati, and then Senzatella. He's been on the team for quite some time. Light on the end of the tunnel. Do we have prospects ready to roll? I feel like a team like the Rockies should. We have Charlie Condon in Double A. He's a guy that's going to mash. That's going to be exciting whenever he gets the call because you put him in a ballpark like that. I mean, watch that thing go. Nicky Lopez is going to be in Triple A to start. I've always liked his game. He's kind of fits the athletic mold that they have. So if one of the infielders gets hurt, that would be my guy to call up. Let's see what else do we have. Then Holiday is going to be in A-ball. That's somebody obviously we're all going to watch and keep an eye on as he was the fourth overall pick in last year's draft. Zach Veen put on about, what was it, 40 to 60 pounds of muscle. Dude is yoked. I would love to see him make break camp on the team to start the year. I don't know that you have another lefty. It's a guy that brings power and speed, kind of what you need, and a boost of energy. And then pitching wise, I don't really love it. Don't don't love what I'm looking at. But no, I think Zach Veen's probably my favorite prospect to look for them at this moment. Him or Charlie Condon. Both of them are in spring training with the boys right now. So hopefully with all the cats in the WBC, they do get a little bit more look, get a couple more at bats, and maybe they just try to hit the reset button and say, let's roll with the young guys.
Let's hope. The Rockies, cool ballpark, but not a lot of hope out there in Denver. Well, Hunter, that wraps up our previews. Next week, we'll have our full season preview. We'll pick our division winners. I know. Right, we're going to have our division winners next week. We're going to have MVPs, Cy Youngs, Rookie of the Years, some fantasy baseball talk, all that good jazz. But now it's time for the Quick Nine, presented by Insert Sponsor. If you want to sponsor us, join us. But for now, Insert Florida Ave, home of my boy Blue, and right across the street from the Hunter Malone. So,
Yeah, right across the street from the GDP headquarters and the H&H headquarters. His Florida Ave Brewery, they've been good to us. And actually, the guy that lives next to me gives me free beer. So, in a way, that is a sponsorship. Shout out to him for feeding my alcoholism. Um,
but we would like,
I would love money, but you can pay me in beer. I'm cool with that.
I don't get paid in beer, so I want,
You could if you moved to Tampa.
or send me a shirt. Send me a shirt.
A
Drip's
shirt is
cool
fine.
too.
Their merch is fine. I'm not even gonna lie.
Drip
They come
gear,
out with
gears,
heaters all the time.
gears cool too, man.
That is very
But
true.
the Quick Nine presented by Florida Ave Brewing. Let's go.
Quick nine. You know, in about 30 games, Mookie Betts will have played more games in a Dodger uniform than in a Red Sox. We can expect him to be a future Hall of Famer. And in Cooperstown, what cap is he wearing?
Say that one more time for me.
Mookie Betts in about 20 to 30 games will have played more games in a Dodger uniform than a Red Sox uniform. We expect him to be a future Hall of Famer with his resume and everything. In Cooperstown, in the Hall of Fame, in the mantle, is he wearing a B or is he wearing an LA hat?
I think most guys opt for their first team, but I think Mookie having so much success as a Dodger, I think he goes into the Hall of Fame as a Los Angeles Dodger.
No, opposite. I think he's going to be a Red Sox. He won his Silver Sluggers and his Gold Gloves with the Red Sox. He won his first World Series ring with the Red Sox. However, he has not won any individual awards, I don't believe, other than maybe a Gold Glove here and there. But he does have two more rings with the Dodgers. Cal Raleigh hit 60 home runs in 2025. I'm sorry, what number will Cal's home run count begin with?
Oh, a
So
four.
two
A
for
four.
20, a four.
A
Okay.
four. Yeah. I think he comes back down to earth.
You tell me where Cal Raleigh went to college?
If you're asking me this, it feels like Stetson or somebody.
You're
But
close, right state.
same type of team or bigger.
Bigger.
Was he a Seminole
He
or
was.
her?
He was a Seminole. So that's three. First color you think of not in the rainbow.
Purple? It's not in the rainbow.
I guess technically it is violet. I hate that
Technically,
answer
it's.
though.
I think it's technically indigo.
It is technically indigo for Roy G. Biv, but I hate that you said purple and not like a fun one like aqua, teal, magenta.
I'm technically
Ro-
not wrong, so you can get fucked.
You are technically not wrong, however, you are confirmed boring. If you could swap bodies with an MLB player, who would it be?
Paul Skeens. And I think we all know why.
Pineapple on pizza?
No.
Yes. If you had a pet parrot, what would you teach it to say?
Fuck.
Oh, fuck. Is soup something you eat or drink?
Eat. Because some of it had, like, baked potato soup. You can eat that.
But like tomato soup.
I think it's overarching still, it's still eat.
I'm with you. I just wanted to see if you would change if you got breast. How many at bats would it take for you to get a hit against Rich Hill?
Probably like 300. I sucked. I was not, listen, when I played Little League, I wasn't there for hitting. I was barely there for fielding. And then late, like 3 games left in like my Little League career, I asked to be the catcher during infield warm up. And the coach was like, "Why didn't you ever tell me you wanted to be a catcher?" And I was like, "Because I didn't have the equipment. Like, I didn't have all the gear, so you guys never looked at me that way."
Just borrow somebody's gear.
Well, I also never did tryouts because
That's
my
fair.
my parents never took me, so I never knew what, like, I just was the random kid that just got drafted. And then he was like, "You could have been a good catcher," and I was like, "Could have, but you chose not to do it."
We touched on this name earlier. We're going to talk about Chris Bryant. When the contract is over, how many contracts will be worse for the team than Chris Bryant's with the Rockies?
What was Chris Bryant's contract?
It was something massive. Let me
That's a
pull
key
up.
piece of information. It's up there. It's pretty
Chris
up there.
Bryant, 7-year, $182 million, included a $7 million sign-in bonus and an AAV of 26 million.
Of all time, I don't know. There've been some bad contracts. Depending on how you view a bad contract, but I'm gonna keep it in the last, from what I know, so the last 25 years. Because Bobby Bonilla is the one where I'm like, that's a bad contract. Like, you got to pay the guy $1.2 million until like 2035.
Yeah.
Sucks. Good for Bobby Bonilla.
And I did
That's a.
specify for the team. So that is a great way to think about it.
I'm gonna say, in the long run, I think you're looking at a top 10 worst contract for the team. I think number one is still by far Anthony Rodon's.
So where I'm at is definitely Anthony Rendon.
Yeah, Anthony Rendon. That's just because the amount of games he got back and like everything that happened. As of right now, the Juan Soto deal looks really bad for the Mets because you haven't made the playoffs with Juan Soto. But there's still a lot of time left in the Juan Soto deal. I think that one's bad. Chris Bryant's, I think, definitely top 10. Top 10 for sure. Man, trying to think who's had some really bad contracts.
I'm a Sox guy, so I immediately think Carl Crawford's with us, and like that was a huge dump
Yeah.
off. His was awful because he was always hurt, never performed. Lackey until 2013, I thought was really bad. But once you win a World Series, that kind of cures all. Jacoby Ellsbury getting that contract with the Yankees, he robbed them because he was probably on PEDs and then he was injured. Things like that. But I think I agree with you. He's probably top five for the team wise. I don't think Ellsbury
I
was
think I
as
think
lucrative.
I think Albert Pujols' deal with the Angels was terrible.
That one
You
was
didn't.
bad.
They never went. You paid all that money for Pujols, and you just never got the Albert Pujols of the Cardinals.
You
Like
still got, I mean, you
you
get
got
more. I mean, that's an extra coach out there. That's it. Like it pays for more when you're Johnny
man,
Cage.
all these
And
deals. Josh Hamilton to the Angels, 5 years, 125 million.
that was bad.
Cost
And
per.
that money goes further back then too than now.
Yohan Cespedes. This is also via Bleacher Report that I'm seeing some of these. So, Yohan
Yeah,
Cespedes,
Cespedes was
4 year,
bad.
110.
Rusney
Uh,
Castillo was horrible.
David Wright, 8 years, 138
That was a
million.
bad contract too.
That was bad, but you couldn't. That's a guy that needed
That's a
to
guy you have
retire
to
him. Man.
sign though. You give him
Yeah,
everything. I'm
make
not upset about the number for him actually. I take that back. It's bad for the team, but it's way better. That's a fan's contract. You can't let Captain America leave.
Miguel Cabrera, 8 years, 248, 2016 to 2023.
You're also paying him for his Triple Crown years and taking you to the World Series. So
Oh,
I'm cool with
this
that.
one is bad. Eric Hosmer, 8 years, 144, when he was a Padre. That one was bad.
That's
You
right.
paid for
He got paid, and then they
you
shipped
paid
him
him.
away to Boston for like the end of it.
Steven Strasburg, 7 years, 245, simply because he retired.
It's a legacy thing, yeah. And he
Yeah.
didn't. He was like, "You're paying me the full thing." I remember that one.
Ryan Howard, 5 years, 125. Uh, what he was. There's one explanation for why the Phillies extended Ryan Howard in April 2010, and that word is a capital D, dingers. And number one worst contract of all time, according to Bleacher Report, Chris Davis, Baltimore Orioles.
Ooh.
7-year, 161, 2016, 2022. He had a negative 3.4 contract WAR. Cost per WAR, not even applicable. So, yeah, those are some good ones right there. I forgot all about how bad Chris Davis's deal was. Eric Hosmer's up there though. You overpaid because the Padres are so bad. You overpaid for a guy that shown a small flash.
I think that was 9. I felt like that was good.
That was Quick 9, sponsored by Florida Ave Brewing, home of My Boy Blue. Yeah, next week, full predictions episode. MVPs, Cy Youngs, divisions, Rookie of the Year, some fantasy baseball talk. Will that lead us right into opening day? No, we still have a couple more weeks until opening weekend. So
we have 2 more episodes before we hit opening day.
Well, maybe next week, maybe we don't do predictions. Maybe we do a fantasy mock draft episode.
Potentially.
We'll talk about it. We'll figure it out. He has been hammered. I have been homers. We have been hammered and homers. Like, comment, share, subscribe on all platforms. Catch you on the next one.